Good evening, everyone, and a special welcome to Amy, Juan, Ellie, and Nick. Thanks very, very much for your willingness to put your name in the hat to fill a vacant council seat. First thing we're going to do is kind of share what the format for this evening is. We'll have public comment for anyone who wants to just in a minute or so after we review the agenda. And then each candidate will be asked to make a brief statement if they'd like to. And then we'll ask you to come up to the podium and the council will pepper you with questions, hopefully politely, I'm sure it will be. And then any follow-up that the council wants to do. And then we'll have council discussion. After each candidate is gone, we'll take the candidates in the order that they were on the agenda. And then the voting procedure is that we have to allow for a council person to nominate someone. And if that person is nominated and seconded, then there's a vote right then and there. If that person gets a majority of council, which is 4 seats, then they're our new council person. If not, then we'll ask for other nominations and take it from there. If there's a tie, our mayor breaks that tie. So with that, is there a motion to? Yep, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. Matt reminded we need a roll call. Sonny, please.
Norris,
Here.
Takamo. Here. Ferraro. Hamilton. Curver. Present. Sprick. Here. And Toffola's on Zoom.
With that, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? And I'm going to ask that public comment, which on this version is at the bottom, be moved up to the top since that's what we're going to do. We have to have public comment before a vote. So we're going to move that up to the front. Fine. So with that amendment, are you okay with that amendment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. So let's kick it off. We're going to try Juan. Juan is calling in from Mexico via Zoom. So I'd ask anyone asking questions to please make sure to the best of your ability that you talk into the microphone. And Juan, good and loud from what I understand on your side as well. Juan, you've got a couple minutes if you'd like to introduce yourself and any words you'd like to say.
Thank you, President Norris. My name is Juan Luis Tafoya. I'm still the junior council member for the Borough of Kennett Square.
Forgive me, Juan. Forgive me, Juan. This is what happens when you're a rookie. Thank you very much. Is there any public comment? My apologies. Okay. Sorry about that, Juan. My mistake. Back to you.
Thank you. As I was mentioning, I'm still the junior council member for the Borough of Kennett Square, and I just wanted to share a little bit of what I've been doing down here in Mexico. On behalf of the borough and its residents, I'm currently working on a project down here in the state of Mexico to benefit our Hispanic community that lives in the borough, especially from the people that live in the state of Mexico and its capital, Toluca. We're currently looking at a hopeful agreement between both cities that would benefit our constituents on both sides, from the Borough of Kennett Square to the city of Toluca. For example, we could have cultural exchanges between both cities, educational exchanges, and many other things. On both sides of that agreement, I'm currently working with other levels of the government of the state of Mexico on separate projects that benefit our residents in the Borough of Kennett Square and also across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the whole nation. And I would really appreciate the opportunity to be a full council member. Not just would I be a voice to our Hispanic community in the borough, but also a voice to our young community, because the younger generation is the future of this borough and the whole country. So I would hope for you to please consider my candidacy for this open position. Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. And if you could try to speak up a little bit or maybe closer to the microphone, it's a little difficult to hear you. Juan, what did you do to prepare for this evening?
I was in a couple of meetings and I prepared myself by writing down all the things that I've been doing as the junior council member and the work I'm doing here in Mexico.
ask, why do you want to join Borough Council?
As a full member,
Yes, as a full member.
as I mentioned, I would be the voice, another voice for the Hispanic community and our younger generation. And I think it's time for them to also have another vote in Borough Council.
Hi, Juan, it's Joel. What would you say you believe to be the top priority facing the Borough Council over the next 2 years?
Well, we have a big we have to still solve the YMCA issue, and to also include have council be more participate, but have council to participate more in public engagement.
Thank you.
Hi Juan, it's me, Sam. My question for you is, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that council is facing right now?
The fire and EMS, as I mentioned, the YMCA issue. Housing is a very important issue because the borough, unfortunately, is having a lot of apartments that are too expensive, and it should be the opposite. We should have apartments that are affordable to the community, not out of the reach.
Hi, Juan, it's Kathleen. How often, we often have to make difficult decisions when we're sitting on council, and how comfortable are you stating your position if it opposes the other council members?
I would be very comfortable if my decision is the same as what the public opinion is. If the public disagrees with this, and if it's a reasonable disagreement, then I would have to disagree with them. And if it's a if the residents agree with that decision and it's reasonable, yes, then I would have to agree with them.
Thank you.
Hello, it's Timothy Curver here. I have a real quick question for you. If you received $1 million grant, you can use any way you want it. What would you do with it?
Invest in infrastructure, invest in community activities. For example, the idea of building a town square that benefits our constituents and brings economic support to the borough. That's what I would use the money for: infrastructure and projects that benefit our residents.
Thank you.
Here we go.
I have one last question for you, if you would. What is something you would like to change by being on council? Juan, you there?
One thing that I would like to change will be, yeah, I'm here. One thing that I would like to change if I get a seat on council is for council to be more active in the community, attend more events, listen more closely to the people, and to be more representative of the community and their voice.
Hi, Juan, it's Kathleen again. Are you willing to ask clarifying questions to the public and council members during meetings?
100%, because I believe in 100% transparency in all levels of government.
Thank you.
Julie, Joel? What are you passionate about, Juan?
I'm passionate of helping my community. That's why I decided to take a career in politics, to serve the people that I love so much.
Juan, thank you very much for answering our questions. Is there any final thing we didn't ask you you'd like to say?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for interviewing me.
You got it. Thank you, Juan. Appreciate it. Let's, Dr. Fiat, we can ask you to come up.
And Ellie, please call me Ellie. So I'm Ellie Fight. I've lived here in the borough on Union Street for the past 15 years. I grew up in Unionville, where my parents were volunteers at Po Marlin, so I spent a lot of time at their ox roast and the strawberry festival when I was a kid. Graduated from Unionville High School. I spent most of my young adulthood in a small town in Michigan, the city of Northville. I was a little bit active in the city government there, and it was interesting to see how a municipality operates in a different state under, different governing law and just different values, actually. It was an interesting experience. I moved back here 15 years ago and just been happy to be here ever since. The reason I decided to apply for this seat is I've long felt it was my responsibility to contribute to the community. I just didn't know where or when the right opportunity would come up. I came to Borough Council meeting, the last meeting, and it seemed like council is functioning well, so it seemed like a good time to get involved. My thought about being on Borough Council is that it's really not complicated. The borough provides a suite of services to the community. We want to provide those services that the community values in the most efficient way we can to keep the taxes as low as we can. But we don't want to skimp on those services. So it's just a balancing act. And I'm excited to get involved in that.
That's great. Thank you. Same initial question, Elise. What did you do to get ready for tonight?
I looked through, I didn't read in detail, but I scanned through the minutes of the last couple years of meetings to try to understand the decisions, the history of the decisions that have been made, and kind of where the borough is. I also puzzled a lot over the budget just to understand fiscally where the borough stands. I know I emailed you, Bob, with some questions about how the special budgets work. Not special, what are they? What are they? Like the sewer budget and the parking and those, how those accounts work. That was mainly it, yeah.
Is there, when you were reviewing the minutes, was there any issue that caught your eye more than another?
It seems to me there's some financial issues looming. I mean, obviously, as a taxpayer, I noticed that taxes went up, and I can understand your reasons for making those decisions. Seems like there's some big problems potentially looming that we need to be as proactive as we can about. So mostly financial issues that concerned me. I'm sorry I sent you my academic resume. That's sort of embarrassing.
I'm like very impressed with this, actually.
Nothing that's relevant to this job.
I was just saying, like, how do you think you'll use your background for a role like this?
Well, I'm a business school professor, so I think about the world in terms of, ROI. Like I teach ROI to my students. We want good stuff to happen at the minimum possible cost. And so, I think about the problem as thinking about what does the community value as a whole, and we want to make that as big as we can, and we want to make the cost as small as we can. So I think that's the main thing. The second thing is my training is in economics, and economists think about how the rules lead to outcomes. So I'm particularly interested in issues like how our current zoning codes lead to whether or not we have affordable housing in the borough and whether or not we have enough housing base in the borough. That's not to say that I have a plan to change the zoning codes right away, but I do sort of think about the world in terms of those structures. What are the incentives and that lead to the outcomes that we get?
I know that you touched on this briefly in your own introduction, but what do you believe is the role of Borough Council in the community?
So we need to understand what the community wants. And to me, that's the main thing is our role is to connect to the community to understand, what bundle of services the borough provides that people would value. Where do they see that there's problems that need to get fixed?
What do you see as the problem?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm really open-minded about that.
Okay.
One thing I did want to say is, I talked to Kyle informally, maybe almost a year ago now. And one thing that was very encouraging to me is all the work council has done to build up the staff of the borough, because in the end, it's the staff of the borough that make everything happen. And we're just advisors. I see the council as advisors and stewards to them. But I'm glad to see that the relationships seem to be positive, and I hope to, further encourage that.
What do you think will be most challenging about being on
Oh, I'm very impatient. So when I'm involved, say, in policy discussions at the university, I get very impatient. I just have to learn to hold my tongue, because it's important when we make decisions that everyone is on board. And that just takes time for everyone to understand the ins and outs. What does the staff feel about things? What does the community feel about things? What do other constituents like developers feel about things? And make sure they understand the details of the decision. So patience.
Thank you.
You guys can just like kick me if if that becomes an issue.
So, just 7 up is on up here, and not everybody has the same opinion. So how comfortable are you speaking out about your views when you know that there's opposing views on council?
I think I'm very comfortable with that. I see conflicts like that are usually rooted in a misunderstanding of the situation, or just different perspectives on the situation. And that if we not only express our opinion, but then back it up with why we think that, we can sort of suss out what was maybe there's a fact that one of us, maybe I'm wrong about a fact that I didn't know. So I'm completely comfortable with that part of the process of voicing opinion, not with the intent to win, but with the intent to understand.
What is something that you've seen in your community or the township or the borough, pardon me, that you'd like to change being on council?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't have a firm answer to that, because I don't feel like I understand, basically the financial implications is a big part of what is a blind spot for me right now. So I don't know. It's clear to me that something needs to be done with fire services, but I have no idea what the solution is there. Nothing else sort of leaps to mind. But I would see it as my role on council to sort of scan for that and figure it out. So I don't have an agenda, I'm sorry.
Fine, thank you.
So if you were to receive $1 million grant that you can do with however, what might be some of the ideas you might?
So one of them I would bring with me from Michigan, which is because of the way our towns were developed, we have very low amounts of public space. Community gathering spaces, you see, we're constantly closing the street to create community gathering space. So that would be the first thing I would think about if we had $1 million. That said, if there's something urgent, like emergency services or water or sewer that needs to be handled, obviously those things come first.
What would you say your passion is?
I'm really the kind of person that likes to contribute, like not my ideas, but sort of see what a group needs and try to fill the gaps. So, I mean, that's outside of my work. I'm like I work a ton, and I love statistics, which is not useful to the Borough Council, but yeah, I love sort of analytical problems.
I don't know that I've heard many people say I love statistics. Maybe a first.
You didn't have a teacher as good as me, Bob.
Probably so. Do you have the time? I mean, your CV speaks about your incredible efforts and continuing efforts. Do you have the time to put into working on council to improve the borough?
So I have stepped back from CATS, which was a big, amount of community work that I was doing, and I'm looking for something else to do. I certainly have the time to attend meetings and spend as much time preparing for meetings as I do attending meetings. I understand there would also be committee work to be involved in. I'm pretty confident, and I'm one of those people that manages her schedule quite tightly. I'm very confident that I could serve 10 hours a week or 10 hours a month. Once we get into the neighborhood of over 5 hours a week or like 20 hours a month, that would start to be a serious issue for me.
We just had an election. Why didn't you run during that election?
I thought about it. I realized that there was an opportunity to run about a week and a half before the petitions were due, and it just wasn't enough time for me to sort of work through getting a petition signed and so forth. But I'm not thrilled about the idea of running, but obviously this is a democracy, so it would be better if all the councilors had been elected.
The term, it's a 4-year term, but the person who gets appointed tonight will serve for 2 years and then it'll be 2 years unfulfilled of that term. So that person, if they wanted to keep the full 4-year term, would have to run in the election.
I understood
The
that
next
from
election.
Sunny.
Okay. Would you run?
Yes.
What advice do you have to the borough?
That's another one that I guess the best answer I have is that it's important to have open and collaborative relationships.
Is there anything that you, if you were king for a day or queen for a day, that you would do in the borough that you don't see right now?
Yeah, I would have more walkability. But that's, as a borough councilor, I'm not going to do what I want. I want to represent everyone. But what I want is more walking.
You're not alone. Any other?
I have one last question. We all live in the borough here, and what is your favorite place to spend time in our town?
The library.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to say
Tallulah's was great, but then they put all the stuff on the table. I loved the table at Tallulah's. I would work
missed the
there for
table.
a couple hours. I really missed the table, but the library it's good. Thanks.
Any closing comments or? No. Thank you very much. We appreciate you putting your neck out there. It's an awkward thing to have to answer these questions in a public forum, especially. We appreciate it very, very much. Speaking of appreciating, Nick, you're up.
Okay. Hello, Nick Perigo. So, excuse me, I have a little scratchy throat. So I've lived in the borough since 1960, went to Kennett High, then attended Williamson College of the Trades, graduated with a degree in construction technology. I've been in that field of construction my entire life. My wife, Barbara, and I have been married for 4 years. We raised 3 children in the borough, attended Kennett. I have 5 grandchildren and 1 on the way. So that's a little bit of my background.
Thanks, Nick. Same question. What did you do to prepare for tonight, if anything?
Well, I wrote down some of the things, anticipating questions and some of the challenges that I feel the borough may have currently and looking ahead.
What do you see as the challenges?
Oh, okay. Well, one of the challenges I see is growth. And, I love the borough, right? You were asking, what are you passionate about? Other than golf, I'm very passionate about the borough. I love the borough. I think you all know that. I love the school district. That's why I've never moved from here. There are hundreds of towns in this Commonwealth that would love to have our problem. Hundreds. Go to Western Pennsylvania, right? They would love it. However, with this growth, there are challenges, right? There's infrastructure, there's the police department, there's emergency services, our school district, housing. So I would like to think that we have a true vision of where we want to be next year, 5 years, 20 years, maybe even 50 years down the road. And do we have a strategy of how we're going to get there? Other small challenges are NVF property. And I can talk more about that. I have some ideas there. I see that as a challenge. Emergency services, I don't have a lot of understanding on that. I do really want to learn more about that, whether I'm seated or not. I want to be involved in that. And the Airbnbs, I see that as a challenge. I really want to see how many we have. Do we have enough? Do we have too many? Should we tax them? Airbnbs nationwide, it has an effect on housing. And it certainly has to have an effect of housing in our borough. So those are some of the things that I would like to look into. Hi, Julie.
What are you passionate about outside
Other than the borough, golf,
of
Sam's Sub Shop.
And grandkids.
And grandkids, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that everybody, whether you're on council or not, should be involved if you're passionate about something. And being passionate about the borough, even though I haven't been involved in politics for over 15 years, I still was involved. I saw a problem with the YMCA. I saw that and I got involved and I did something. I was. So when I was 26 years old, I served on the Planning Commission for 4 years. From there, I served on Borough Council for 12 years. From there, I served on the school board for 12 years. And it's been about 15 years that I haven't served on any council or a school board. But it didn't stop me from getting involved and having my ear to the ground and knowing what's going on within the borough. And again, referencing the YMCA, you know, I felt very passionate about that we were being wronged, if you will. And I stood up for what I believed in.
You've paid your dues multiple times. Why get back into it?
Other than being a glutton for punishment, I enjoy it, Bob. I just love it. I love what I do. You know, regardless in construction or being involved in the town. I bleed blue, you know, from the school district and this town. And I just love it and I miss it.
Of all of the things that you've listed, presumably, what do you believe would be the top priority for Borough Council over the next 2 years?
Yeah, the MVF property. I think that we're missing a little bit of a boat there. I don't know if it's ever been discussed, but in my opinion, to have a really good, strong borough, there has to be a combination of housing and some type of manufacturing, light manufacturing. That helps. Of course, it helps jobs, but it also helps with the tax base so that all the taxes aren't on the residents. And I would really like to entertain, you know, we talk a lot about housing, yes, and I know housing is an issue, but I think we need to bring some type of manufacturing back to this borough. You know, I was born and raised with NVF and Bell Telephone here and other, you know, manufacturing that the locals used to work there. Now, maybe that's a pipe dream, right? Because it seems manufacturing has left the United States. But maybe there is someone that is willing to come to this town. Maybe we give them a tax break for a few years. I don't know. But there has to be a balance so that all the taxes are not put on the borough residents.
Nick, what do you think will be most challenging for you about?
I really don't, I don't know that I'm used to it, right? I've been in this position before. Time's not an issue. I'm sort of on the downside of my career. You know, I don't work every single day. I have multiple hours to put into it. I really don't see any challenges for me personally being on the council. Now, I think I answered your question. I think that's different from what the challenges that Borough Council would have, right? You understand?
So I'm going to ask the question that I've asked everyone. I think I already know the answer. Would you be comfortable, stating your opinion and your position if other counselors are opposed?
I think for those that know me, I've never had any trouble standing up for what I believe in. That said, I want to be on I'm not afraid to say that I was wrong. I'm not afraid to change my opinion if I hear enough of the towns, the constituency saying, hey, have you thought about it this way? Yeah, I have, but I still believe in what we do. So the answer is no, I have no problem doing that.
I'm sure. Mike, if you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
I think, I don't know it well enough, but I think that some of our zoning, years ago, we went from a lot size to a certain size and we diminished it down. And there's part of me, and I'm speaking a little bit out of school here, okay, Tim, but I think there's part of me that we need to go back to that because we're getting a little crunched. We're getting a little crunched. So it may have something to do with the ability for a lot size. Let me put it that way. And again, I'm speaking out of school because I don't know all the zoning laws. I've been out of it for a while and I know that a lot has changed. But I think it would have to do with lot sizes, the ability to expand on a small lot size. What we have to really watch, as you all know, is impervious covering. You know, the more that we cover with building and parking lots and additions, where does that stormwater go? I hope that answered your question.
So if you were to receive $1 million grant, what do you think you'd want to do?
NVF. NVF, I stand by that. I think that we've been fooling with that property for years and years and years, and it's time to make a move. Like I would really like to focus on, I know is it brownstone, brownfield? I know it was contaminated, probably still is a little bit, but I would really like to see that property developed. Again, my idea was to investigate manufacturing, but if it's housing, that's okay. But let's do something with it. Yeah, and walkability. There's still some sidewalks that I think in certain areas to connect. I've been using the trails a lot recently, and I love it. I'll walk down from my house in Walnut through the YMC parking lot and up around Bill Taylor's and down to Square Roots and cross the railroad tracks. And I find myself down at the new park, and it's great. How to get to Anseby Nixon is still a challenge for me a little bit. So that may be another thing, but I think we're really, really moving in the right direction when it comes to walkability in this town. I do believe a little bit contrary to that we do have plenty of open space with Anseby Nixon Park, the library meeting rooms, the firehouse has meeting rooms. The creamery is more than welcoming to the community to use its doors. The school does as well.
In your previous experience with public service, what would you say was maybe one of the hardest decisions?
Yeah, when we were first, I was around when Genesis came, and at the time, we were this close to building a golf course. And we had purchased, which is Legacy Fields, you know where that's at, right? And there was going to be a golf course there. And it was going to go out into Kennett Township in that area. And I didn't want it. I thought it was a bad move. I don't think that a borough should be in the business of running golf courses. And it was a battle. It was a battle, but ultimately we sold that land and there was no golf course. Someone asked $1 million grant. The other jogged my our sewer water system. It needs revamped. And I say this, please, let's not sell that. Let's not sell that. Let's not sell it. Let's not sell it. Right? Let's fix it up. but we've all seen our neighboring townships, what's happening. You know, Aqua comes in and buys it and their rates triple, skyrocket. So I would also use that money for our wastewater treatment plant.
Nick, my only question, if you are not appointed tonight, would you be willing to serve on a committee of council?
I suppose I almost put my name in for, was there something to do with construction, like a committee?
Infrastructure?
Yeah, that and maybe the civil service, but infrastructure, yeah, I suppose I would. Yeah, I'll always be involved. Yeah.
Vic, why did you not run for the seat?
It didn't, I don't know, Bob, you know, I just didn't really think about it or give it any thought at the time. I don't know what was going on. No particular reason, no particular reason. But then when this came up, I got energized again, and I realized how much I missed it. And I got a lot of encouragement from friends and family and other constituents, like, go for it. And I said, okay, you know, I'll do it.
What do you not like about the borough?
I just told you seconds ago, I love it. What's not to love?
But you're potentially on council now.
Wait,
What would you?
yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's not much I don't like about the borough, Bob. And maybe it's because I'm so daggone biased, right? I'm looking at it like this through tunnel vision. Look, we've all made mistakes and we've all made decisions that maybe the constituents don't agree with. But I believe that everybody up there and everybody here really cares and is passionate about the borough. So when a decision is made, again, I've been there before. I don't get angry. You know, that's a decision that the council went with. It's okay. You know, I don't think that anybody ever on council would ever make a decision that was detrimental to our community. So I really don't dislike much about the borough. You know, I didn't really care for my hoagie the other day at Sam's. I let them know about it. They sort of messed up my order, but no, in all seriousness, I really do enjoy everything.
Anything we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with?
I don't believe so. You know, we talked about Airbnb, like, I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Amy, welcome.
Hello, how's everybody? My name's Amy Regal. I've lived in the community of the borough for about 20 years. I was not born and raised in Kennett like Nick, but I chose Kennett Square to be my actual home, where I'm actually raising my children and living with my husband. I just absolutely love our community. If I'm not volunteering, I'm sad, basically, is what happened. I always put myself out there to make sure that I'm doing things for the school. I volunteered for the PTO. I volunteer for things with the Kennett Collaborative. I'm a board member for the Brandywine Sports and Recreation. I run their volleyball program. So I'm constantly moving around and doing things for our community and our school system. When I'm not volunteering, I work full time. I run 17 control states in the alcohol industry. So I don't have a background in infrastructure or anything along those lines, but I do a lot with business and I deal a lot with government, dealing with the odds and ends of, you know, making sure that we're following the rules and whatnot. So I love our town. When this opportunity came up, I just knew that if there was a hole that needed to be filled, if no one was going to step up and do it, then, you know, like everybody else that's here, they just love the town. They want to make sure that somebody's in there and doing what's right for the borough. I want to make sure that the town is a beautiful place for my children, so that my children will have their children here, and that we'll just keep attracting more people to the county and to the borough. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What specifically did you do to prepare for tonight, if anything?
I asked a lot of questions to people that I knew that were in the Borough Council. I talked to a lot of my friends that, you know, have lots of opinions on what they want to see happens. I sat there and felt like I was going to have an interview, so I planned for having an interview. So that's what I did mainly.
Julie?
What are you passionate?
My kids, my family, my town, yoga, which Julia, I don't know if you recognize me, we take yoga together all the time. Yeah, I'm usually in there right before you. Sorry. I'm usually, you're running in after me. I'm like, shoot, I gotta get that space. So, I just care. So if it's not necessarily like, you know, building or infrastructure or things along those lines, like I just care about our community. During COVID, I mean, it was so sad. And my husband, Sean, and I started a Kennett Local podcast, not a podcast, but basically like going and interviewing all of our community businesses and like just trying to help and make sure that, you know, our community is sound, and that if there's an opportunity to help someone, I am without a doubt. I like to network with people. I like to connect people. So if it's like, oh, you need this, I'm going to try to help you with that and whatnot along those lines. So I guess I just love our town. Mm-hmm.
What do you believe is the role of Borough Council in the community?
You are a person that is representing your community. So you have your own opinions, and you have a lot of resources and a lot of things coming at you. So I think your role is to kind of absorb everything and figure out what is the right decision for the borough. It's not necessarily like your internal opinion. I think you have to make sure that you're making the right decision for the future.
In your opinion, what do you think is the
I mean, that's a hard one because I'm not on the Borough Council currently. I mean, I can tell you about things that like I can say, hey, I'm sorry, me, you know, I get a little upset about, you know, I see some of the apartments, which I've had these conversations with Kathleen multiple times. You know, I'm concerned about the codes and the with rental properties and things along those lines. I understand that there is a major infrastructure issue that's knocking at our door with our growth, because that growth is important. We need to keep growing, because with growth, we're going to bring more people into our town. We're going to have more tax dollars. We're going to have more ability for our schools to be stronger, more teachers to have jobs, and for our businesses and our EMS and our police to have more money to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So I just want to make sure, my concern is how do we grow, but we grow responsibly and making sure that we're doing the right decision. So, so that kind of bugs me, but I mean, and I also recognize that, and I don't know enough about the EMS situation, but I know that that is something that we really, really need to look into and make sure that it's taken care of properly.
So, excuse me, are you willing to ask the clarifying questions to the public or the other council members during meetings to make sure?
I mean, you have to. If you don't, then you're doing everybody a disservice. I mean, like I said, I'm not up there just for my sole opinion. You have to take multiple perspectives and make the right decision from that. So, you know, I might have a perception coming into something and it's one way, but then after talking to everybody else and listening to other people that would give me more facts or anything along those lines, you have to have like all of that to make the proper decision. So no, I mean, it would be dumb to do that. So, yeah.
I'm going to take my question back. Okay, thank you. If you received a $1 million grant, what would you do with it?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm going to do everything that they're talking about because they had great ideas, but also, I mean, I think I would probably reach out and make sure that we take care of the sewer, the EMS, the big challenges that we're dealing with right now. Make sure that we're cleaning the slate with that, because that would be probably a headache relief for everybody.
challenge question. What do you think would be your biggest personal challenge?
On council? I, I mean, I'm not a politician, so I'm pretty transparent. Sometimes I think my face gives off what I'm thinking at times. So maybe that's a challenge that I would have to try not to give out what I'm really thinking. I agree. I'm a little impatient as well because I don't, I think sometimes when people come into the borough council meetings, they just want to yell at you and hammer you and it's your fault. And I think a lot of times they forget that we're volunteers. And I think you also get forgotten that like you're here to do, you don't have an agenda. I mean, I don't have an agenda. So I think that would be frustrating and without coming with solutions, because honestly, like that's really what we have to get to. If we don't come up with solutions, then we're all just stuck.
Where's your favorite place to hang out in the borough?
Oh my gosh, like everywhere. Library, amazing. Tallulah's amazing. Yoga Secrets, amazing. I love Victory Brew. The Chicana in the winter is absolutely amazing. Hank's, great breakfast. Trying to think, that's probably like all my good stomping grounds. No. What? Ooh. Oh, I forgot the new pizza place right by the high school. I absolutely love that place. I could just sit there and eat their cookies all day long. So, right? I know. They had Kevin. So.
Same question I asked last time is if you are not appointed, would you consider serving on a committee of council?
Sure, if it would be the right fit for me. I don't know if necessarily like a budget committee would be like the best asset for me or best use of my talents. But if it's something that I think it would be, we would both get benefit out of, I would absolutely volunteer.
Why didn't you run?
I didn't even think of running, to be quite honest with you. I think when I heard that there was a hole, because I remember signing your slip to like get you in. I I don't know. I just didn't, the thought of running, I terrifies me, just because I'm not a politician. But hearing that the fact that there's an opening and that luckily you got people showing up to fill this made me sad and made me feel like I needed to make sure that that didn't get left alone and that, somebody that cares about the town and cares about the future of this borough to make sure that it gets filled with somebody that cares. So that's,
You have the time?
yeah. Yeah. I don't travel nearly as much as I used to. So I guess I could say I was traveling a lot. So that was kind of a challenge for the beginning, but I'm not, yeah, I do.
Other questions? Any last comment or something we didn't ask you that you want to share?
No,
Thanks, Amy.
thank you.
Wow.
Well, y'all made this really difficult.
Since I didn't ask you the same question, if you're not appointed tonight, would you serve on a council committee?
Yeah, and I'd be particularly interested in finance.
Thanks.
Wow. Some of us wanted to have a blind ballot, not because we're cowards necessarily, but because there's one seat and there's some really great folks that want the seat. And I'm going to apologize on our behalf. We're going to disappoint 3 of you, and that makes it incredibly difficult for folks that are so passionate about the town.
I won't be disappointed. I'll just be happy that there's someone great on council.
Thank you. And please consider the mayor's challenge or request to get involved in a committee. We probably don't do a great job of asking people to come on the committees and explaining what the committees are about. So if you're not here, you'll probably get a knock on the door. We have some great people and we've got a job to do. Is there, again, the process is if there's a nomination for a candidate, it has to be second. And then we vote on that candidate. If the candidate gets 4 or more votes, then they're our new council person. If not, we'll ask for other nominations. So with that, is there a nomination for the new council person?
I was going to nominate Ellie Fight.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Second. All those in favor by a voice vote? Sam? Tim?
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
Aye or yay or nay? Oh, forgive me. You're right. The rookie again. Is there discussion? I'm sorry. I should have asked for discussion first. My apologies. Is there any other discussion from the council? I mean, we have 4 great candidates. No. So with that, we have an aye, Kathleen? Julie? Joel? Aye. Congratulations. You are in town. And as luck would have it, we have a mayor handy to literally swear you in tonight.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
My door is always open.
2 years. A lot of us
And thank you to the other 3 candidates who put their name in. We very much appreciate it and wish we just had more seats on council. With that, is there any other business that anyone would like to bring up? Kyle, anything?
Just thank you to Sonny and our staff for pulling this together. It was a good, clean, professional process. And he's filling in tonight. Wishing Rachel the best. She's dealing with some sickness tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Also, sorry, we do have our first strategic planning session. So this is an annual process where we're looking for input from the public. It's been incredibly helpful for us the last couple of years. It'll be Monday, March 11th at 6 p.m. here in the second floor conference room. Thanks.
I want to thank everybody who came out and applied. It's, I think maybe 4 or 5 times since I've been mayor that we've had to appoint a council member. And 2 of those times we were pulling strings to get anybody to even put their name in. It was up to the last day asking somebody to put it in here. Tonight you have 4 great candidates. So thank you for doing that. It's incredibly uncomfortable to be a neighbor who has to choose a neighbor. And we certainly could have just flipped a coin and it wouldn't have mattered because there were, 4 really fantastic folks. So thank you for your time. Thanks for putting yourself out there. And I certainly hope that, it's the beginning of more strategic involvement with council. And so thank you so much.
Just want to say thank you to everybody in the borough police and cleaning their streets and getting the salt down. Great job. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Long hours and tough time.
Very
Thank
good.
you all.
Meeting is, first, meeting in February is February the 5th, is it? Monday after next? Please, join us. With that, council person Ellie, would you like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Well done. Thank you. Good evening.